According to FBI data, nearly 50% of all solved murders in the United States are not committed by a stranger in a dark alley. They are committed by someone the victim knew. And a terrifying portion of those are family. The person sitting across from you at the dinner table is statistically more dangerous to you than a random intruder. We are biologically wired to trust our kin. We lower our defenses when we walk through our own front doors. But in the world of true crime, that comfort is a fatal error. The person most likely to harm you isn't a monster hiding under the bed. It is often the person who shares your last name.
It is so good to see you again. I missed you, Grandma.
The myth of the sanctuary. We are raised on the ancient adage, blood is thicker than water. It is the ultimate social contract. It implies that when the world turns against you, your family will be the fortress that stands firm. It suggests an unconditional loyalty that supersedes the law, morality, and even logic. But in the corridors of criminal justice, we see the twisted underbelly of this phrase. We see what happens when the family unit transforms into a closed circuit of toxicity. When a family operates not as a support system, but as a conspiracy, the dynamics shift. The home becomes a crime scene long before the yellow tape goes up. Blood Runs Thicker isn't just about loyalty, it's about entrapment. It's about the unique, suffocating pressure to keep secrets because that's just what families do. Today, we are dissecting the psychology of the family annihilator, the co-conspirator parent, and the siblings who trade silence for survival. We are asking the uncomfortable question: how much evil are you willing to overlook just because it shares your DNA? The code of silence and shared delusion. The greatest challenge investigators face when dealing with family-centric crime is the silence. Organized crime syndicates have omerta, the code of silence, enforced by the threat of death. But families? Families have something much more powerful. They have emotional leverage. When betrayal or violence stems from within the family, the victims are often paralyzed by confusion. How do you report your own child? How do you testify against a brother who protected you on the playground? This conflict creates a breeding ground for escalation. We see a phenomenon known as folie à deux, or shared madness, expand into folie à famille. This is where a dominant family member, usually a patriarch or matriarch, constructs a distorted reality that the rest of the family adopts. Inside the house, their actions make perfect sense. Inside the house, they are the victims, and the outside world is the enemy. This dynamic tests the strength of blood ties like nothing else. It weaponizes love. If you speak up, you aren't just a witness, you're a traitor. You are excommunicated. The fear of losing that belonging often overrides the moral imperative to stop a crime. This is why familial crimes often go on for years, or even decades before the bubble bursts. The challenge isn't just proving the crime, it's breaking the psychological spell that binds the accomplices together. Case study: the Wagner family. To understand this lethal loyalty, we have to look at the Wagner family murders in Pike County, Ohio. This case is the definitive example of blood runs thicker, taken to its absolute horrific extreme. This wasn't a crime of passion committed by a lone wolf in a moment of rage. This was a tactical execution carried out by a family committee. The Wagner family, a father, a mother, and 2 adult sons, sat down at their kitchen table and planned the annihilation of 8 members of the Wagner family. The motive? A custody dispute over a single toddler. But look at the dynamic. You had Angela Wagner, the matriarch, who didn't just know about the plan. She helped purchase the materials. She forged custody documents. You had the father, Billy, and the sons, George and Jake. They moved as a single organism. They bought shoes specifically for the murders and then burned them. They constructed homemade suppressors for their weapons. For months, they lived in a pressure cooker of their own making, reinforcing each other's hatred. In the Wagner household, loyalty meant becoming a murderer. If one of them had stepped back, if one of them had said, "This is insanity," the plan would have crumbled. But no one did. The blood tie was so strong that it completely eroded their individual consciences. They viewed the murder of 8 human beings not as a tragedy, but as a necessary family chore, something that had to be done to protect their own. This is the dark side of the bond. The Wagners loved each other intensely, but that love was cancerous. It isolated them from reality, until the only way to sustain the family unit was to destroy everyone outside of it. However, there is a breaking point, and this is where the tragedy turns into a lesson in human nature. The climax of these stories rarely happens at the crime scene. It happens in the interrogation room years later. In the study of game theory, there is a concept called the prisoner's dilemma. 2 conspirators are separated. If they both stay silent, they might walk free. But if one betrays the other, the betrayer gets a deal, and the silent one takes the fall. Family loyalty is ironclad when the threat is external. But when the handcuffs click and the family is separated into different cells, the instinct for self-preservation begins to claw at the bond. In the Wagner case, the facade cracked. Jake Wagner, one of the sons, pleaded guilty. He agreed to testify against his own brother and father to take the death penalty off the table for himself and his mother. Think about the weight of that moment. The same blood bond that drove them to kill 8 people was suddenly not strong enough to withstand the fear of death. The realization hits. You ruined your soul for your family. But now, to save your life, you must destroy that family. This is the pivotal realization. Crime breaks the sacred contract. The moment the gavel comes down, the us against the world mentality evaporates, leaving only me against the system. The loyalty was an illusion, sustained only by the adrenaline of the secret. Once the secret is out, the love turns into resentment. The story of the Wagners, like the story of the Murdaughs or the Menendez brothers, forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth about human relationships. Blood ties are powerful, yes. They can drive people to acts of incredible heroism and sacrifice. But that same wiring can be short-circuited. Family is not an excuse for morality. It is not a shield against justice. While we want to believe that our family is our sanctuary, history proves that the most dangerous conspiracies are often hatched over breakfast. Relationships are complex, and they are fraught with challenges. But when loyalty demands that you bury a body, or tell a lie, or look the other way, it is no longer love. It is a hostage situation. So, I want to leave you with a question that tests your own boundaries. We all like to think we are law-abiding citizens, but let's make it personal. If you discovered that a sibling or a parent had committed a serious crime, not a parking ticket, but something that hurt someone else, would you turn them in? Or would you honor the code that says family secrets stay in the family? There's no easy answer. Tell me what you would do in the comments below. And if you found this analysis compelling, make sure you're subscribed to Signal 49. We investigate the psychology behind the crime, not just the headlines. I'll see you in the next case. Stay safe.